Happy Terminal Tuesday, everyone. We are back with a new episode. This is the place where we basically explore cool setups, workflows, and listen to the stories behind popular terminal command line tools. I'm joined by my co-host Coke. How's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going great, as usual. How are you doing?
Good, good. I'm fine. We have a very special guest here today, Igor Chubin. He's the creator of really nice command line tools. If you ever have to check the weather from the terminal or check some quick commands, cheat sheets from your command line, he has created weather in. I think that's how you pronounce it, and cheat.sh. Welcome, Igor. How's it going?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we dive into your whole terminal world, tell us about these two projects and just maybe you can show us a little demo for the people who doesn't
Yeah.
know don't know about these two really nice command line tools.
Yeah, let's try to do it. Yeah, so actually I have several projects. One can say I have even my own philosophy here or my own approach with services that I call console-oriented services or terminal web. I will explain you the key ideas later. So what exactly is what is the core idea behind? So the idea is quite simple. You can basically, if you want to check the weather, current weather or future weather forecast. Okay, it was too big. Yeah, you just do this. So you run curl weather.in. And what happens in this case, you have like weather forecast for your location, or at least for the location that is detected as yours based on your IP address. What you have here, your funny ASCII art representation of the weather forecast, like for several days. It is a default view. So you see here, today is Tuesday, tomorrow, and Thursday, like this weather forecast for this location. You can, if you want, you can add any other location you want, like for example, London. Basically, you can really use any location you want, any location on Earth. It doesn't even have to be a city name or town name. It can be absolutely everything you want, like Eiffel Tower or whatever. What is interesting here is that if you access this page, if you access this URL from the browser, you will see the same. Like open weather in, and you see there is no difference. You have absolutely same representation in any browser. So if you take graphical browsers like Firefox, for example, or Chrome, or whatever you want, or Lynx, you will always have the same representation. And that was actually the core idea behind the service. So the idea was that we should really perceive terminal as a browser, or even a better version of the browser. Like instead of location bar, so think about it, yeah, here you have location bar with your URL, but here you also have sort of location bar. You should just use curl to access the service, but at the end of the day, you have your location bar. And what is better here than in the browser, that you're not limited by one window, so you're not isolated. You can really access the services and combine them and just use your terminal, use your shell, and at the same time, use all features, or at least many of features that you typically have in browser. Like, for example, graphical representation of information. So here we have pseudographics, but you know probably that modern terminals support graphical or image protocols, like, for example, Sixel or Kitty protocol or image and line protocol, and you can really visualize graphical information directly in the terminal. So the text obviously works. Things like hyperlinks and so on work also. So that was sort of the initial idea I presented like 10 years ago, and for that I created the service. I took weather just like an example of information that could be accessed like this. Actually, since that time, the service evolved a lot. So It has a lot of features now. It is not really this funny ASCII weather forecast, which is the main or the core component of the service. So you can run help to access it, to access the overview of the project and see all possible options. Basically, it is not even all possible, just like subset of the most important options that you have in the service. The main idea of the service, you can give access to people as well as to machines or robots, as I call them back in the days, so 10 years ago. So there is no difference. If you're a human, you use curl, or if you are a robot or machine, you still use HTTP client, you still use curl or an equivalent to access the information. And the idea was exactly to unify or representation of the information. Well, the idea proved to be correct, because now in the time of LLM and agents and AI, that is exactly what is going on. The only difference is maybe that instead of calling it machines or robots, as I called them back in the days, it is now called agents. Agents are exactly these entities that are accessing the service all the time. So at the moment, we are in the sort of period of very extreme popularity growth. I will show you the project and project page and also statistics about its usage. Yeah, it is a GitHub page of the project. And yeah, you can just scroll through it and see all the possible features which are supported. And as I said, it is quite a lot. But one interesting thing here is basically access statistics. And we have it here at the end. Yeah, and you see that after projects like OpenClaw and similar bots, AI bots and AI frameworks became popular, the popularity of service also exploded. And it is clear why, because all of these agents, all of these AI frameworks just prefer the service as source of information. So if they need for some reason some weather information, for example, they don't really search it anywhere. They go to the service and they check the weather data on it. So as you see, we have now more than 100 million queries daily, which is quite a lot for such small project. And it is 500,000 users which are utilizing the service at the moment. So if you take a look, for example, at possible integrations that the service has, it is quite a big list. Let me show you the list of integrations. Yeah. So we have terminal managers, we have window managers, editors, chat clients. So anything you want, like Waybar, Xmod bar, different status lines, and so on and so on and so on. And all of them are very, very tightly integrated with the service. So you can really access this information directly in your status bars or any other dashboards. And yeah, here we have AI agent frameworks and bots. And as you can see, the list is quite big. Like OpenClaw here, obviously at the top, but there are a lot of OpenClaw, I would not say clones, but similar projects. And all of them use weathering. And more than that, they don't even use it, but it became really like hello world. Just like explanation how exactly you create a skill, for example, for AI-based system. So just like create a skill for checking weather. You see? So, and they just use weathering. Because it is so obvious and it is so straightforward. It is clear that the agent accesses the same information, the same representation of information as humans do.
That is very interesting. I am very curious about this integrations and the users are just really impressive numbers. When you created first weather in, were you aiming for this kind of adoption, or did this thing happen in the last couple of years? I'm curious about when you first created, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, so actually the motivation behind it was exactly to illustrate the idea. So historically it was just like additional or let's say supplementary service that I created like overnight just to illustrate the idea for one of my blog entries. So I explained in this entry, we can even find it. It is already sort of part of history, but yeah. So 10 years ago, I wrote a block entry that explains that actually we should use the same approach in the terminal in the browser, and we really perceive the terminal as the best version of browser. That was the main idea behind. And just to illustrate this idea, I thought, okay, I need to do something. I have to create a service. And I thought about, okay, what would be the best sort of data, or data category that I should display or should I provide access to via such service? And so that is how the service was created. Yeah, it was really one night that I spent on creation of the first version of the service. And no, I did not, of course, expect such tremendous success. I knew that at some point services like this will be in use, they will search, and everyone will use them. But I did not expect that exactly this service that I was writing at the moment will be exactly that service. Yeah, that is it. And the popularity. So if you take a look at this, let me just explain you this plot. If you take a look at this, it is quite interesting. Yeah. So the service was created 10 years ago. So additional access numbers are not even visible here. We have statistics starting from 2019. You see, we have two lines here, like a black one, a gray one, and this yellow one. So gray line is unique IPs, and it is here on this right side. And it is not current value, but it is sliding average for the last 30 days. So that means that for the moment, we have sliding average here more than 400,000 users daily. Yeah. And it is growing. So that means that if we take a look at actual numbers for today, for example, probably it will be closer to 500,000. But for number of visits, it is even more. So you have like millions here. And you see, so because the service was struggling with this load, you see this strange pattern. So I limited some queries. So just like use throttling more or less, during this period of time, because service was not ready for such tremendous traffic, and that's why you have here like a little bit lower numbers than usually. Yeah, but after I have redesigned and re-implemented the service from scratch. Yeah, I removed all throttling on limitations. Yeah, and now we have real numbers here. Yeah, so you see they really surged overnight. As I said, because it is sliding average, it is even more. So after 1 month, we will see real numbers here. The average will be sort of equal to current number of queries. And as I said, it is more than 100 million. But originally, you see, it was like 1 million or less queries daily in 2019. And before, it was even less. And even 1 million queries daily is a lot. Yeah, the service, which was originally written in Python, was struggling with this number of queries. So I optimized the architecture all the time. Actually, the popularity was growing all the time. It was not just like overnight success. It was really constant growing of popularity and also growth of new features and functionality.
Do you have any metrics on like who's using this the most? Like, are these part of a terminal, like a CLI script, or like the user growth? Where is it coming from the most?
So it depends on the period of time. So for example, if we're speaking on the period before 2026, it is almost always different dashboards and scripts and so on. And it is clear, just like if you divide, for example, number of queries daily, like visits daily per number of users, you will see that it is like a factor of 100 or more. And obviously, it is not people, not humans who access the service all the time. But what you have various clients that display this information. So as I said, we have integrations, various integrations, like Tmux, for example. And people have it in Tmux bar or Waybar, and they have it in the Waybar. And so you have it really everywhere. And all these services, which are spread all over the world, are accessing the service and get the information. Let me show you. We have special so-called one-line format. You can just access not this big output like this, but you can just write, okay, I don't really care. I just want to have temperature. And you have this format 1, or format 2, for example, with wind speed and so on. So it is really optimized for using in status bars and everywhere. You have also JSON format, like big one. or small one for embedded devices. Yeah, because for some embedded devices, this J1, which is too big, is not really the best format. So we have this J2 format with limited data for small microcontrollers and so on. And we have various other formats like Prometheus, for example. You can integrate this information directly in your dashboard. We have so-called rich format, like with additional visualization, like for example this V2, like this. So you have plots with information, graphical information that you can really analyze and see, for example, change of temperature or level of rain. So sort of graphical representation. And the same, if you access this information directly in browser, you will have graphical representation there. But the biggest fraction of traffic was generated by dashboards and various status bars with this one-line format like this. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Now, why do I say that it was generated? Because now it is a little bit different. So these statistics changed a little bit. Yeah. So starting from 2026, as the popularity of OpenClaw and OpenClaw bots surged, so the biggest fraction of traffic is generated by the systems like OpenClaw. So they fetch this information. They use this information for RAG, retrieval augmented generation. So like they add this information to prompts. The service became a source of information for AI agent-based systems. What I want to say here is that the service itself, so because we use weather here, but it is not necessarily weather-centric. Yeah? So actually we could provide any sort of information like this. And so if you want to share some information with the world, like for example, financial information or whatever you want, you could share it on news, for example. Yeah, you could share it with the same approach. And I believe that it is really the best approach to share information with humans and with AI systems or agents at the same time. So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see any other reasons why the service became so popular. And so I did not really, for example, push for any, popularity. I did not promote it or whatever. So it was really organic growth, absolutely sort of natural, based just on features of the service, and that's all.
Going back to what you said about serving different kinds of data like this, was this the same motivation for cheat.sh, or did you create that for another purpose?
So this service is Wetter-in, and by the way, Wetter is just like German name, or German word for weather, which is just like Wetter in German, and it is just like weather in, weather and some location. I saw that it is really popular and people like it, and so probably the approach is good. So, and that's why I thought, okay, I should create something else and just see if it works. And I created this cheat.sh, maybe 8 years ago for cheat.sh in the pre-LLM time. And for that time, it was really something really revolutionary. So you could, now it is obvious, you can just speak with LLM and that's all. But back in that days, it was not possible. And so it was like this. Or is like this. So you basically access this cheat.sh, like a first page, directly from terminal. And you see here different options. So what you can use special clients if you want. You can directly use it from your editors, from your terminals, whatever. But the main feature was that you can really access cheat sheet or for any command line tool directly from the terminal without installing anything. You probably know this, so various projects like, for example, TLDR, which provides the same information or similar information. It is short, concise manual page with highlights of the main features of certain program. But contrary to TLDR, for cheat.sh, you don't even have to install it. You can really access it directly. So, for example, you don't know how to use, curl. And you can just run curl cheat.sh curl. Okay, and you will have all these possible like cheat sheets, which are automatically fetched from different cheat sheet sources, and we see here where exactly they come from. So like for example, TLDR is also used here as one of the sources, and we see it here. You can use I don't know, really any comment you want. So any comment you can imagine, and you will get cheat sheet. But additionally to that, we have here also cheat sheets for programming languages. So for example, if you run something like Python, JSON, you will see how to work with JSON. And back in the days, it did not use LLM. And what it used a Stack Overflow as source of information. And so here, for example, we see where exactly the answer comes from. So it is this answer on Stack Overflow. And that is the author of the answer. Yeah, and you could really put any phrases, sentences. So currently you do it typically with LLM, but with cheat.sh you could do it already 8 years ago. So it did not generate information on the fly, like based on AI models. What it did instead, it collected the information from various information sources, like for example, Stack Overflow, represented it in a terminal format. So terminal compatible format. Service is still running, but I believe that it should be really updated or actualized, redesigned for new world, for LLM based world. And in my opinion, this approach is still valid, or maybe even more valid than before, but it should be updated to the new reality, to the LLM based internet.
I was just going to ask that. I've developed a tool before using cheat.sh, and I will drop the link in case anyone is interested. And nowadays, I feel like cheat sheets or TLDR, like programs like that, are a bit obsolete. This might be a spicy take because you can get the same information from LLMs really quickly. So, what kind of like renovations are you planning to do on this? Are you planning to make the output more LLM friendly, or what's your take on things like this being kind of obsolete these days?
It is not exactly fully obsolete. It is obsolete in this form what we currently have, but it is not obsolete completely. So there are several possible advantages that or potential advantages that the service and this approach has. So first of all, it can be used fully offline. Not yet, but I mean potentially, without any access to any external LLM, to any GPU, whatever. That is first thing. Second thing is that so it is much faster. So if you compare, for example, generation of like response using LLM for this equation, it will be at least order of magnitude longer than that. Third, it is maybe the most interesting part. So actually what you could do, you could create some sort of virtual representation or virtual plane for some information that you have, like for example, for your code base, and create like cheat sheets for information that you have in your code base, which can be also accessed, for example, by agents. So sort of cached index of knowledge that you have in your code base. But in any case, what you can do, you can really have simplified and optimized representation of the information that you can generate with LLM. So sort of LLM-based pre-generation of information. And also, for example, here, let me show you. Like you can really integrate a lot of different representations of information directly into the service. So you can have not only text, but you can have, like, for example, dashboards and so on. And so you don't really replace LLM, or you should not replace LLM, but you should rather build a layer atop of it. So I don't see LLM as a problem. I rather see it as an opportunity. So because you can really combine the power of LLM with the power of terminal. And I believe that this approach has even more potential than before. I can show you the third service, which is also quite interesting, which is not so popular, not yet so popular as cheat.sh and Weatherin, but it is quite interesting. It is rate.sx. It's financial information. So at the moment, it is focused on cryptocurrency, just to demonstrate the potential. But you can basically use it to access any financial information, potentially. So it doesn't work at the moment. currently it is really limited by cryptocurrency. So by default, if you run it like this, you will just have an overview of the top 10 cryptocurrencies, like similar to CoinMarketCap or things like that, but in the terminal. Yeah, but you have a lot of options. You can, for example, specify a number of cryptocurrencies that you want to see, or you can really filter on cryptocurrencies. And also what you can do, you can change or see, for example, plot for the price change. Like, for example, if you want to see the, change of Bitcoin price, like, for example, for last period of time, for last day, for example, okay, it was like this. If you want, you can specify bigger interval, and you have it like this. You can also specify much bigger intervals, like days, month, years, whatever, and you see the change of the price. You can also have like sort of calculations directly here. So you, for example, you want to see, okay, let's see, instead of Bitcoin, do something else, like, for example, gold. Okay, it is a change of gold price. Yeah, but you want to see how the price of gold changed to the price of Bitcoin. So what was growing faster, this or that. Yeah, and you can use, for example, okay, by default it uses USD, but you can use, for example, Bitcoin as a unit and see how price of gold changed in Bitcoins. And so you see that to Bitcoin price, it changed also quite dramatically. So what I want to say here, you don't even install any programs locally. Yeah, you can interact directly with your services from terminal and have basically all possible representation of information you want to have that you typically have in browser. But what you additionally have here, you have flexibility. Yeah, so you can really combine it with any other Unix tools that you want to use. And yes, this information that you have in the visual representation, you can also have like JSON or any other form. That means that with this approach, you really have your data under your control, and you can create, your scripts, your pipelines, whatever you want directly in the terminal. After that, just automatize it and have it, in your dashboards or wherever you want.
How do you render these charts?
In this particular case, we use a small trick. So actually, it is Braille characters. You probably know what is Braille. It is for blind people. You have special characters, and we just abuse it, sort of, and use this alphabet to draw plots.
So it's basically a service running in the background. When you hit this with curl, you get a ANSI output from it, and you print it out to the terminal. Is that correct, or how does it work under the hood?
Curl communicates with the server. The server understands what user agent is used at the moment. So, and if it sees that it is curl, it implies that you are curling it directly from the terminal. If you don't specify any other format, like, for example, JSON or whatever you want as a requested format, it implies that you want to display the information in the terminal. So it renders it as ANSI and sends you back. And so how curl typically works, it just displays the information that you received from the server. So it does not try to interpret it somehow. It just dumps it to the terminal, to standard out. And yeah, so you send, from the server side, you send ANSI formatted stream, and yes, it is displayed in the terminal.
Yeah, it's really straightforward. So you use Python for drawing these in the server side?
So it depends. For example, in this case, in rate.sx, yes, we use Python. In Weathering, it is already Go because of load. So in this case, it is everything implemented in Go, because Python just cannot handle this load.
Yeah, got it. So you get a lot of traffic, so you need to probably have something to handle that kind of load. It makes sense to use Go here, I guess.
Yeah, what you can also do, for example, here when we access this, it is a combination of Python and Go. So basically, it is rendered in Python. So I did not port this view to Go because, well, this view is not so often accessed in comparison with other views. So it is okay to have it in Python, but Go caches it. So we have like Go front end, and we have models behind it, which can handle some complex views, like, for example, this one. But if we reaccess it, so you see here it was like 300 milliseconds to render the initial version, and now it is like 70 milliseconds just to get it from the cache and send it to me. So it is not locally, so that means that this time includes also communication with the server, which is remote. And so in this case, information was taken from the cache, and Python was not in use in this case, in the second query. But in the first, it was rendered by Python.
We have one question from the chat actually now, from Shard, regarding specific CLI. He is asking whether you considered adding support for stocks and ETFs.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
And also another thing which I consider, but well, currently I just have sort of other priorities. But one day I would like to add not only stocks and ETFs, but really on the whole sort of financial information possible. And additionally to that, I would like to add support for image protocols to rate.sx. So at the moment, rate.sx does not support image protocols. It is always Braille characters that are used for visualization of information. But with image protocols like, for example, Kitty or 6L or image inline protocol, you could generate this plot much more precisely, and you could really generate complex plots with a lot of information and display it directly in the terminal. So everything I explained about ANSI and rendering ANSI on the server side and so on is also applicable to rendering images. And that is exactly the idea. You can really have a content with images and text directly in the terminal and have all the other advantages. So you can, just to give you an idea, you could provide, for example, something as input here, and have the service still user-facing. So that means that you really use Unix way, but on the web scale. So you don't really use like pipes, or okay, not pipes, but local machines, local programs, but you use external services, but still combine them using Unix way. Another example, I hope that it works. Yeah, so for example, this one is quite a good illustration. So that is the best possible approach to bring some text on your smartphone from your terminal. So I don't know what approaches you use, probably use some instant messaging systems. But if you don't have one on this machine, locally, and you want to, for example, send something like this, for example, to your smartphone, or maybe some URL which is complex or whatever, how would you do it? You have no options. You cannot really do it. But with QR encode, you can just convert it into QR code. So here, let me show you. You can pipe it into curl, and it is generated. You can, if you have your smartphone, you can really verify that it generated exactly that what we have in the terminal. You can just try it. And you can really pipe anything you want. You can do really strange things, like, for example, like this. And it will pipe it, and you see, you can make a photo and have the 3 first lines of ETC password in your smartphone. So the idea is, as I said, quite simple. You can really use external services as Unix programs and just use Unix way. In terminal, you can do it. In browser, you cannot. In browser, you can just open URL. You can't really pipe anything into it, but in terminal, you can do. And you can really think about it more and more and more, and you will understand that it is really Unix way on web scale.
Yeah, definitely. I have one question, because now that you pointed out ETC password, so what are the possible security risks of using services like this?
So ETC password doesn't contain any sensitive information. It is in ETC shadow, but it is a good question. So if you really want to send passwords or whatever using this QR code, which is just like public, obviously you should not do it. But what you can do, you can install your local copy, which is protected by whatever you want, like just your own
self-hosted, basically.
Self-hosted, exactly, and use it, and that's all. But of course, you should not use it. You should not use public version for sharing some sensitive information. But for example, some YouTube video or whatever, so some URL, you can just pipe into it, and that's it.
And actually regarding, because you showed, so we have weather in, cheat.sh, and now we just showed the current code. She did give to me a list that you maintained of similar tools like this.
These services are very popular, as you see. They have a lot of users, a lot of stars, and so on. Actually, that is not only the services that work like this. Yeah, so actually, it was like the first services in this area, but after that, a lot of different services, or maybe not even the first services. For example, things like ifconfig.me was created, I believe, even before. So you know this, or this. So that is how you can check your IP address. So that is my IP address.
Yeah.
But what I want to say that there are a lot of services like that at the moment. Yeah, and they are growing. So the number is growing. I created this list, awesome console services, and they not all of them are like this. So some just like wannabe console services, but the direction is still okayish. Yeah? Some of them are not working, like this, for example. Yeah, it was working before, but yeah, for some reason it's not available now. But you can have the impression. So what exactly the services do? You can just check the list and see. Probably you know very well-known services like, for example, Mapski.me. So yeah, but maybe someone did not. I just want to show you. So you have basically you have OpenStreetMap in terminal. It does not use curl in this case. It is telnet because curl is missing some features. So in curl you don't have, for example, mouse support. So here we have mouse support in telnet, but in curl we don't, and that's why we cannot at the moment use curl for that. But for telnet it is also fine. But so in my opinion, it is not exactly console service or terminal web, because it is just a program that is accessed via remote protocol like telnet or SSH or whatever. And I believe there is some difference. So you cannot really do, for example, pipes with it. You cannot have Unix way. And in my opinion, in classical console web services, how I imagine them, you should be able to make really Unix way. So it is not exactly, it is very cool service, but that is not exactly console service in my opinion. Here we have more than that. You can just check the list and you will maybe find something interesting for you.
We will definitely add the link to the description of the video, and I think we shared it on the chat already.
Yeah, you can just, if you want, you can just share my wall repository or my wall user here, because it has all these services.
There is also the FOSDEM talk that you mentioned to me that you did. We will link this one as well in the video, I think.
Yeah, but in this talk, in the FOSDEM talk, I believe we had the same discussion as today. So you will not learn much more than today, I believe. But well, still useful talk to watch.
Nice. Any questions? I think we can take one more. Anything?
Not from me. There was just one message from Samuel saying that rustypaste was not on the awesome list.
But, we don't have a public service. Do you accept only the projects who has like a public service, or do you accept like self-hosted just repository links to the awesome list?
Both. So you can just edit and add additional nodes that this is not a public service but like self-hosted.
Okay. Gotcha.
For example, and also you should just maybe consider using this approach for your future services.
It's very interesting.
And it can really attract a lot of users just because it will go viral maybe if you make something like this. Just add to your website, for example, curl version or terminal version, and people will share it. By the way, I did not mention it. We also experimented with adding payment functions like pay via terminal. Probably you saw this project or maybe not. Stickr.shop. It is also quite interesting one. you can really integrate it with Stripe, for example, and you can access stickr.shop directly in the terminal and use QR code for make payments. So that means that you can really use this terminal-based approach even for such things like payments.
That's cool. Terminal is the way, after all.
Yeah, terminal is the way, absolutely.
This is something we can all agree here.
Yeah. So, unless there's anything else to talk about, thank you, Igor, for the nice presentation. We definitely learned a lot of new things today. I mean, I didn't know much about the console services, and the map thing that you showed at the end was super cool. So, I'll definitely check out the list after this. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and well, I wish you luck with the project, with your project, and more users and more terminal users. Yeah, and maybe we will meet in future.
Hopefully not 100 million requests today. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you for coming to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you, and see you.
See you.
See you guys.